Cool.
You just came in here with your dick in your hand.
Should I have done something different? Were you expecting any less? All right. Boom.
Rap of ages.
I'm going down, baby. Don't speed in the Cadillac grills, Cadillac mills. Check out the oil, my Cadillac. Watch yourself, shake your ass. I came there with my front like they had the manpower lights. More or less, more so.
Rap of ages.
How many licks does it take to I will be by your side till you get to the center of the Oh, my dog is bigger than him. Ha,
Going on. You say it's puppy love. We say it's full grown.
Season 3.
Welcome back to Rap of Ages, Season 3, our podcast. We are breaking down the best hip-hop hits from the year Y2K, year 2000, our senior year. We're talking about what was happening, why it was popular, what they were thinking, and where it all went wrong.
Where did it all go wrong, Brian?
I would actually go back to the mouth music that I was making, if I can call back to ODB. It was a guy who has a very distinctive personality, but he decided that boom, and a creaking door was the most important thing to put on his fourth album because it happens about 446 times on this album that we're going to be talking about.
Loud noises.
Mouth music. So once again, I'm Brian.
And I'm DJ Turntable.
And I'm Jared Johnson. And if you don't know that late 90s and early 2000s hip-hop isn't safe for work, small children, or your virgin ears, well, we don't know how to help you.
You're completely on your own. In this episode, we have a special trigger warning because we're talking about some pretty serious sexual assault issues. If you have been a victim of sexual assault or sexual violence, call the national hotline 800-656-HOPE for help. And if you are sensitive to those issues, this may not be the episode to listen to. But with that, we are going to get into it this week. Check us out on social media, wherever you get your podcasts. We're up on iTunes, Google, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Spotify.
There's so much social media. So social.
Hit us up on @ROA Podcast on Insta and Twitter, Rap of Ages Podcast on Facebook, Rap of Ages Podcast @gmail.com. And of course, don't forget to hit up the reading list on Nook.
Hit us up on Nook.
For the hip hop heads, we're still pumping out the Evolutions mixtapes on the same podcast feeds. For more and links to every possible way to listen, don't forget to check out our webpage, www.rapofages.com, or just shout, play Rap of Ages podcast at your device.
Alexa, play Rap of Ages podcast. Oh, it actually just triggered my Alexa. Oh, that's fantastic. If you can hear that in the background, that actually makes it more awesome. If you like the show, please tell everybody how awesome we are. The best way to do that is to subscribe and rate us on iTunes. That's what makes all the internet things go boom. If you don't like us, if you could page our newest member, Jared. Jared actually still continues to have a pager, and his pager number is...
Don't page me.
He has it on all night long. He carries his pager everywhere he goes. Pagers are still a thing in the Doctor's universe. It's awesome. But yes, seriously, as always, thank you very much for listening to our show. So with that, J, D, what do we got? Who we talking about?
We have a very bad man yelling at you this week.
But is he a bad man? Like a cool bad man?
Shut your mouth. I'm talking about Mystikal.
Oh,
Michael Tyler!
So just like an actual bad man, not like a bad man like Shaft.
Shut your mouth.
Like he did terrible things. Kind of bad man.
No, he was really bad. Also potentially bad at rapping. But this song, Shake Your Ass, Watch Yourself, show me what you're working with.
So it's hard that you say that, right? So like, it's really interesting. So we're talking about Mystikal. I'm really excited. So shake your ass, watch yourself. this song, everybody knows it, right?
Everyone.
We've been waiting for this song forever because who doesn't want to hear "Shake Your Ass"? It has been on 147 movies because any type of uh, get drunk college movies where you want to be cool, old school movies type of that, you're always playing "Shake Your Ass." Like that is the song of the early 2000s. And it's also interesting that, we're talking about this is a song this is very late in Mystikal's career. So Mystikal is Michael Lawrence Taylor, aka Mystikal.
Tyler. Michael Tyler.
Tyler, yes, Michael Lawrence Tyler. Thank you. So from New Orleans, this is his fourth album, Shake Your Ass. So he has had a few albums since then. So he started his rap career in 1994. We are now talking about him. This is his fourth album. He was 94, 95, 97, 98. Year 2000 is when we're finally starting to talk about him. But this was really his breakout to me.
He is, of screaming rappers, in the top 2.
The other one being, go on.
It's tough because I think Ja Rule is slightly better at yelling and rapping at the same time, but he's definitely better than Drama. So I'll put him between a Drama and a Ja Rule. Brian, do you know what else Mystikal and Nate Dogg have in common?
Please continue.
They are both veterans of the U.S. Armed Services. Nate Dogg was a Marine during his time, and Mystikal served in the first Gulf War and was allegedly dishonorably discharged for going AWOL.
Was he dishonorably discharged?
It is alleged. I couldn't confirm that, but he did allegedly go AWOL at some point and then left the military after a couple of years. This would have been early 90s, so right before he started getting serious into the rap game, about 93, 94, and probably left the military around 91.
I still have a couple of messages left with the Pentagon, but they haven't got back to me yet about his records.
They were not available for comment.
Did they say it was in the mail? Yeah.
Yeah.
Records in the mail.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of FOIAs pending to get Mystikal's service discharge records. We'll let you know. We'll do an update on this episode if those come through.
Mystikal was an Army engineer, I think, wasn't he?
He was, in fact, an Army engineer. I'm not sure what he was engineering exactly.
Hot beats, hot songs.
But the reason I bring up his military career is that because he was influenced by his time in the military, he takes a lot of his cadence and a lot of his delivery from drill sergeants. And apparently that's like why he raps. He probably had a tough time in the military. Maybe he got yelled at a lot and now he's yelling at you. So you're welcome.
Well, and like we also know, like, so military, I mean, he also had a very challenging childhood, like a lot of these people that we talk to, right? So like his father died when he was very, very early. His father died at the age of 7. And I know that like his songs, he has a track called Murder on all of his albums, and Murder is dedicated to his sister who was murdered. And he is still, a lot of these songs are about the idea of him finding or chasing the man who killed his sister, and it is going after them. So like he has a lot of that part of it as well that helps to drive his yelling or his anger towards his towards his craft. We talk about yelling. He's very talented. There are 2 songs. So we're going to be talking about Shake Your Ass because you can't not hit the year 2000 without talking about Shake Your Ass. I would argue
but watch yourself.
Watch yourself. Fair enough. I would argue that this is one of his 2 biggest tracks. If you think of Staying Power, we'll talk obviously much more in depth about this. My other song that I think of where Mystikal is known for is going to be Move Bitch with Ludacris. But again, Move Bitch crushes it because it's Ludacris, and Ludacris is a star, bar none. There's no questions. And Mystikal is relegated to the chorus and the backup QB role. And like in that role, he is fucking phenomenal.
I'll tell you in one word why this song was popular, and I think you can both guess what that word is.
Yes.
The word is
Pharrell?
Pharrell. No, it's Pharrell. The word is Pharrell. It has to be Pharrell. If Pharrell isn't on this song, you don't have the beat, and you don't have the sort of smooth melody of the chorus that softens out Mystikal a little bit. Because if you just imagine Mystikal trying to do the chorus to this song on your own, it gets just a little bit threatening. And Pharrell comes on, and it's already threatening. He comes in with his dick in his hand, but like Pharrell comes on there, and he's just like, you know, and there's a little singing, and you're just like, oh, maybe everything's gonna be okay. Like, there's this crazy guy over here yelling at me, but Pharrell's also here. He's playing the piano, and he's telling me to like just dance, and I'm cool with that.
Pharrell is the carnival barker on this track.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk a little bit more about why this song was popular. You've got Pharrell, you've got Mystikal, we've talked about both of them, and then you've got James Brown. So that's the other reason this song is great. You've got the sample from Soul Power. Great James Brown song. I like Soul Power better than this song for a number of reasons.
Is it because it's not Mystikal and it's James Brown?
That's one of the reasons. It's a big one. And it's classic. It's great. And so like anything that's going to throw you back to like a great, and there's a few artists that if you sample them, your song pretty much can't lose. And it's going to be like James Brown, Stevie Wonder, and like Marvin Gaye. Basically, if you take a sample from any one of those three artists, you've got a good shot at making a hit. So right there, you kind of put all of that together. And, you know, despite Mystikal not wanting to put this out and instead wanting, what was the song he wanted to put out as his single? This is great. It's like track 17 on that album. I think it's I Get Throwed.
I'm throwed off.
I'm throwed off. He wanted to be the single.
Which,
so
listening all the way through, like, it's a good album song. It's like the worst single song you could fucking possibly imagine.
Right.
It's like, that's not a single. It's not a single.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun booty track. It's got interesting delivery. It's got a great beat. It's got great samples.
You give Mystikal a chorus. If you actually give Mystikal a chorus, he will kill it. He will kill the chorus every time. That he has a great. He actually sounds a little bit like James Brown in rap form. I mean, that's his allure to his style. He's
definitely got some influence there. Yeah, absolutely.
He has that sound. So the feelings you hear, it's a little bit of anger and a little bit of soul. And of course, when you're 18 or 19, like you feel that. It's just, again, if he's doing the chorus, it's amazing. If he's doing the ending, that's amazing. If he's got a whole track, like luckily on this, and Jump and Danger, if I'm just jumping through like the other three, like the Neptunes, like Pharrell actually pulls the best of the best out of Mystikal. Without Pharrell, Mystikal is just like he's lost. He's lost. He might have a good chorus on some of these other. I Rock, I Roll is another really good chorus, but his lyrics are just lost. He's gone.
Yeah,
there is a song where he just lists the names of all of his family members, which is an interesting track where they're like, it was like he ran out of lyrics and he's like, what if I just listed all the names of people related to me?
He's just lost as a lyricist.
Made that into a song.
Yeah, I think he was in the mix for so long. I mean, the first time I heard him, I think, was on Make 'Em Say and he's just this hyped up guy at the end. And then throughout the next couple years leading up to this album, he had been on like It Ain't My Fault with Silk the Shocker and a couple other songs where it's like, oh, that's you obviously get familiar with his voice. And then he comes on this album and I agree. The combination of the beat and Pharrell on the chorus is really what kind of, and he's that guy that you've heard of for so long. I don't remember any album. I don't think I listened to any album of his before this came out. But this is definitely the culmination album for him.
Yep.
So, Jared, what was he thinking on this song?
What was he thinking? Let me just, for this song,
I like money.
This album too, just something I've noticed about a lot of his song and album titles. So like this album is called Let's Get Ready, right? He has Y'all Ain't Ready Yet is an earlier song of his. Here I Go, Here We Go, There He Go, Let's Go Do It, Let's Get Ready, Ready to Rumble. There's so much about getting ready and about to
He's
do
a hype
something.
man. He's a fucking
very
hype man.
hype man. He's a hype man. And it's like, I just want a song that's like, I did it. We did it. I crushed it. We smashed it. Like some culmination, some
We are currently in the
closure.
process of doing it. Huzzah!
Some closure on things. But I wonder, he's listed as a songwriter on this track along with Pharrell and Chad Hugo, and I'm wondering how much of this song he actually wrote himself, because like we mentioned before, he's not a shake your booty rapper. This isn't really his cup of tea, and Pharrell's like a pretty dirty dude himself. I remember being at a concert of his in college, and it was like he spent so much time trying to get women to throw their bras and panties on the stage that it was like interrupting the show. I think he just got that kind of dirtiness in him. I'm curious. I'm just curious. I'd be very interested. I couldn't find it how much who was actually contributing what parts of the song, but I wouldn't be surprised if Pharrell was a huge part of this songwriting.
He wrote the first two lines on the first verse. Hey Pharrell, if I say I came here with my dick in my hand, don't make me leave here with my foot in your ass. Can I say that? He's like, yeah, I'll write that in for you. Cool. Can I get acknowledged as a part of the writing group? Sure, Mystical.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that line is like, you think about the great literary openings. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
It's actually great.
Call me Ishmael.
Call me Ishmael. That I came here with my dick in my hand. Don't make me leave here with my foot in your ass. Be
Dude,
cool.
We're making fun of it, right? But a lot of this afterwards is garbage. I know, like being toward the ends of it, like verse 2, I don't know what the fuck he's saying. I still don't know, and I'm actually reading it on Genius.com. I still don't know what the fuck he's saying, but like he comes out with the chorus, which that's the staying power, because right now we realize like Post Malone and all this stuff, like you lead with the chorus, and that's actually like gets people drawn into your song, and like this was ahead of its time in that regard. Thank you, Pharrell. The beat's amazing. You lead with the chorus, man. The chorus is hot, and then the first two lines, everybody on this song, if you're gonna rap with this song, every girl, every guy's gonna hit the dance floor and be like, "Oh, shake your ass, watch yourself. I came here with my dick in my hand to make me leave you with my foot in your ass. Be cool. Shake your ass, watch yourself." Like no one knows anything else, but the first two lines because it's funny and it's good and it punches you right in the face in the beginning.
Yes. It is memorable, no doubt about that.
So after that, where do we go? Where do you go from there when someone comes in the room with that level of intent? He basically like Kool-Aid Man's into the room, like bursts through the wall.
Please do an oh yeah.
And just starts yelling his head off.
He is the fucking Kool-Aid Man. Dave,
He's the Kool-Aid Man of rap.
You have solved everything. Do you realize what the propheticness of what you've just said? Mystikal is the Kool-Aid Man of rap. We need to end this podcast right there. You solved it. You solved world peace and world hunger at the same time.
I found a great way that Complex describes him. They said, if an explosion could be condensed into human form and taught to rap, that would be Mystikal.
That's also a good one.
Yeah, I came with my dick in my hand.
This song, and just looking at it and researching and just reading about all the stuff about him personally and just where we are in our culture right now, this song obviously doesn't age super well. So I don't feel the need to be getting into every single line of this
Nor
because
should you.
so much of it is just, aggressive and misogynistic. I do love the I'm effervescent and I'm off that crescent. That's just a line that stands out to me. And David, you uh, alerted me to the fact that that crescent is just another word for fresh, if I'm right.
That's the best I could find.
Yeah, maybe that's what
Is
he was
that
talking about. Maybe not. I'm sure that
fresh and bubbly works, right? Like effervescence, kind of bubbly, fresh, crescent. So yeah, I'm like fresh and bubbly, and that's like the calmest way you could describe Mystical
yeah.
as effervescent.
Mystikal is effervescent. Period. He's also nastier than a full-grown German Shepherd.
Yeah, is that an
Motherfucker.
allusion to a police dog? Perhaps. I don't know. Maybe not.
I think it's gotta be.
They don't fuck with me, and they don't. Now, are you trying here? How is that a line?
It's the best.
Is
That
that-
is the best of the
Is
best.
that the best? They don't fuck with me, and they don't. Y'all bitches can't catch me, and you won't.
No, it's like they don't do it and they don't. He's just reaffirming that they don't fuck with him because if
He's not trying.
he completes the tautology. It's brilliant. It's like the Ouroboros, where the snake that's eating itself. It's like the infinity symbol. They don't fuck with me and they don't. It's great.
All right, I disagree. Pay your fare, fix your hair, throw that pussy. Got a product for Monopoly?
How does one
Oh,
throw a
throw.
pussy? Because my favorite line of the song is one for probably 20 years I didn't know what he said. And when these songs came out, we didn't have really the internet to look up lyrics. I mean, the internet was around, but there weren't like Genius wasn't around. You didn't have all lyrics. You didn't have all these lyric sites, really. You could go on like forums and chat rooms and stuff, and unless the artist provided the lyrics in the sleeve, in the CD sleeve or the cover art, you didn't have them. They weren't there. You had to listen to the song and hope you knew what he was saying. And if you, like, I challenge you, if you want to go back and listen to the song, just listen to it. Don't read anything and try to determine more than 60% of what Mystikal says. I think it's almost impossible.
It's very difficult.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, except there was one website that I used to use. It was ohhla.com, the original hip hop's lyric archive. And I don't know
Oh
if
yeah,
they
that
had,
was great. Was that around then in high school though?
it
Or
was
that
definitely
college?
it was definitely in high school. I used to spend a lot of time on that site.
Is that still a website?
Yeah, I looked it up the other day, but it's very slow and out of date.
It's still running on a modem? Like the
Yeah,
are still attached to a dial-up modem?
right. They still pick up the phone and get disconnected sometimes.
Yeah.
Right, that will happen. So he says, got a problem for my monopolies and Donna for my babuski. And that's not at all how he says it, because you can sort of understand the words I'm saying, even if you don't know what they mean. He says it more swallowing all of the words and yelling them. And somehow Mystikal can both mumble and yell at the same time, which is
Yes. That is exactly
in and of
what
itself.
I was
Got a problem for my monopolies and Donna for my babuski.
David, that's exactly what I was thinking. He is able to scream and mumble simultaneously. It's very talented. Actually, I am impressed by it. I wouldn't put him under the mumble rapper umbrella. I think it's just his accent and the way he speaks, and he's a faster rapper, and I think a lot of times that could be misinterpreted as mumble. Whereas a lot of the mumble rappers now are slower.
But if Twista was a Cajun,
right? Yes,
it would sound
He wouldn't be as good.
unintelligible. Like if you listen to anyone from like the deep bayou who's got like a real Cajun accent, it is difficult to understand if you're not from there, you're not accustomed to hearing it. And so he can go into that a bit while he's rapping, and and he's yelling it and rapping quickly. I think it's just, I think you're right. I think it's a combination of all of that.
Yep.
Going back to the line, it's got a Prada for my Monopolies and Donna for my Boboski. And this, I was very excited to research this song because there were so many lines. I've listened to this song for so many years, and there were so many lines I didn't understand. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go Genius this week. I'm going to learn it all. And there was nothing annotated on there.
Yeah.
Like
No,
nothing.
it's exotic. No one knows what that means.
But now
And
there is.
And then I looked on like 6 other lyric sites and nobody had defined this. So I think I've done enough research to crack the code. I've put it on Genius. If you like this, click upvote it on Genius. We are now the leading reviewer of this song.
Rap
on
of
Genius.
Ages.
Hi-oh.
Rap of Ages. But get on there, vote for these definitions if you like it. Bonopolies is the plural for monopolist, which Urban Dictionary defines as
Not a word. Please
a
continue.
woman who does not give her man a hard time. Babuski is a derivative of the word boo, or someone you are having sexual relations with. So he gets Prada, I assume a Prada bag of some sort, a nice purse, a nice dress for the women
It's
that
a European shoulder bag.
are treating him nicely, and he gets some Donatella Versace, again, perhaps a bag, perhaps some nice clothing for the women with whom he's having sexual relations. And that only took me 20 years to figure out.
Yeah. And it sounds like he's a gentleman.
That's the one nice thing he does in this song.
Oh, I see.
I know we're making fun of it, but like, that's the part where I think maybe hip hop kind of falls off, and that's where maybe in terms of like aging, we've gotten smarter with like shorter songs. Where like there's a lot of these songs that we had in the year 2000 in this age where like the beat was hot, the rapper was hot. Like Mystikal's first, like we're making fun of it a little bit, but like the first verse was kind of sick. Like everything that we're talking about is like those are like the like line after line after line. Like it's kind of cool. And then like we get to like verse 2 and like he just completely falls off the rails, and you're like, you know what, if you ended the song maybe a minute 50 early, so the song was 3 minutes long, like a standard Post Malone song right now, like this might actually like not go wrong at all. It might be fabulous, rather than just I like my women fire like cayenne, which I didn't realize until we wrote this. I had no idea what the fuck he was saying. Chocolate and bow-legged when I'm running up behind her. Like,
And then,
okay.
And then go ahead, do your job, pop the lock, let the cock out. It's like
Let the cock out.
It's an
Let
animal.
the cock out.
It's like letting your dog out into the backyard.
Let the cock out. For girl, don't lie. You know when I'm gonna go back to my house, the man right here. Want to get under that dress right here?
And then
You spicy Cajun.
I want to talk about one more line in the third verse. The "You Gonna Holler" Michael Tyler line. That also really stuck out for me.
as one of the
Like,
question marks, what is he saying?
Because you didn't
no, I
realize that his
realized
name was
his
Michael
name
Tyler.
was Michael Tyler. I just think it's funny that like he claims that like if he is so good at sex, the woman is going to yell his legal name and not his rapper name.
Right.
I just think that's a funny thing to think about. Like, I'm going to do you so good that you'll say my real name, whereas if I only did an average job in the bed, you would just call me Mystikal.
That's where he draws the line. That's how he knows.
And also in this verse, he a little before that, he says, if they ask you what you doing, say, ooh, nuttin', which is a reference to one of the best Bernie Mac performances from his Def Comedy Jam days, which is definitely worth a watch if people
Go back and watch old Bernie Mac,
Oh,
R.I.P.
This
Just
whole
even
set, oh,
so let's talk about the many, 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 many ways this song and Mystikal went wrong.
So Mystikal decided that he believes in a lot of the misogynistic lyrics that he holds, and that he thought that raping his hairdresser was a really, really good idea. And then he went to jail for that. Mystical was in jail for 6 years. He was supposed to get a plea deal for what he did, and was supposed to be just let off on probation. Apparently, there was a video that was put out after like all this came to light of what happened, and the judge saw the video and negated the plea deal and was basically like, fuck you, this is awful. You're going to jail for the full term of the 6 years.
Can
He
I just
got
interject?
lucky. Yeah, go ahead.
So a video didn't come out. So he extorted his hairdresser to do this for him and his bodyguards, and the video didn't come out. He taped it, and he had it in his house. And when the police searched his house, they found it in a safe, and that is how the video came out.
Yeah, and so in Louisiana, he was facing life in prison for rape, and somehow was going to plea out and ended up getting the 6 years. But he very well, I think, had he not been a rapper with probably good representation, could have and probably should have been put in jail for life at this point. And while he's in jail, do you want to continue down the rap sheet? What happens from there?
Uh, so like that's the other thing of like clearly he's got to, he of course doesn't file taxes as well, but like that's my other favorite thing is like a lot of people. It's like how bad is this? How bad was Mystical? Is a lot of times when you see people get sentenced, they get off for good behavior or things are shortened. It happens all the time. It's very very standard. Nothing that Mystical did was shortened at all. He served the entire sentence, to which me kind of shows like it was either horrible, like that horrible, where like it was like unforgivable that he served the full term, or the fact that like he was just horrible his whole term and like people get off for good behavior. Mystical apparently doesn't know how to have good behavior. And he's gonna serve the whole fucking thing.
Well, not only that, while he's in prison, he's also convicted for tax evasion.
Yep.
They decide that he can serve his tax evasion sentence concurrently, so he doesn't serve any extra time. He gets out of jail in 2010, continues to get in trouble with the law for a variety of the same things, which is assault or battery of women. Then in 2017, he must either get extorted or decide. I don't know if he has a change of conscience or what, but he turns himself in for an incident that happened in 2016 while he was on tour of yet another rape. And so he turns himself in to, quote, get it over with, essentially, and get himself, clean and back out. He spends another 18 months in prison awaiting his trial, and then gets out on a $3 million bail. He was supposed to go to trial in late 2019. He got his trial stayed or got a continuance until April 2020. In March, I think because of COVID or whatever else was going on, they delayed the trial again. So he's now supposed to go back to trial in early August. He's technically out on bail. He's got an ankle monitor. And waiting for his next rape trial. And so you think about someone who's been in trouble a number of times throughout his life for the same thing. It's pretty disturbing. And you see this in a lot of rape cases. You see this in a lot of sexual assault charges. When people get out, these are often repeat offenders with it. And
Yep.
yeah, so that's what's going on with Mystical these days. And you want to guess what Mystical's net worth is, Brian?
Negative 3 million. He's got to be fucking 3 million in the hole.
It says it's 3 million, but I don't know if that was the 3 million he spent on bail.
That's right.
Or not. So it's
got to be zero. This goes
basically
back to
legal fees. His net worth right now is whatever the legal fees are. But I do want to get back to the track and where this song actually goes wrong, because we can talk about Mystical's mishaps all day. But the song does go wrong in a few places too. We talked about some of the mumbling. We talked about some of the unintelligible, misogynistic, and poorly aging lyrics. I want to go back to something you said much earlier, Brian, is actually the difficulty in hearing Mystical. And that I think persists on a lot of his tracks. The vocals on his tracks seem to me very low. So, like, if you're listening to him at like full volume in the car, you can barely hear him over the music. And I don't know if he just had a bad like producer in the studio or what, or if the real reason he's yelling all the time is because the music is too damn loud.
And if you want to hear a perfect example of this on the same album, so Mystical continues to have a track called Murder. The track volume is about maybe an 8, and his mumbling lyrics are about maybe a 4. And if you turn it up loud enough to try to hear what he's saying, you can't actually understand it because the actual song is blowing out the windows in your car. Like you can't understand what he's saying. It's impossible. And like I want to be moved by what he's saying, but I can't fucking figure it out.
I have a more fundamental question about the song, and maybe you can help me with this, Jared. The chorus of the song, of course, like a memorable, still kind of fun chorus. Why does she have to watch herself?
I think he's just what is the phrase?
Because it's hot. It's hot when she does that.
Is it? Does he mean that literally, or does he mean watch yourself like slow down?
I think it's this. What is the phrase? The stick and the whatever. But he's commanding her to shake her ass, but at the same time, looking out for her.
He's in a strip club, right? I mean, he's in
So
a strip club.
You see it as like shake your ass, but not too much.
Yeah, but just be careful. Yeah, just be careful.
I care for the public safety.
The way I interpret that is that he wants her to slow down so she doesn't shake her ass too fast for him. And I'll back that up by saying in the video, which is basically like a pseudo interpretation of Eyes Wide Shut, there's a weird orgy and masks at a house. It's pretty disturbing and bizarre.
And Roy Jones Jr.
And Roy Jones Jr., who was a thing at the time. And back when boxing was a sport people watched. Mystikal has a number of women coming up to him and dancing on him, giving him lap dances, dancing, backing their ass up against him. And he looks a little uncomfortable at times. And I think he is a bad dancer. This is my interpretation, that he wants, to kind of get down, but like, don't shake your ass too fast because he's not going to be able to keep up. He's not going to be able to get down with that.
I think that this song went wrong. Interestingly, the lyrics went wrong. They don't age well. I'll get back to that in a second.
The song went wrong at Mystical.
But the video in this whole Eyes Wide Shut thing, the weirdest part of the video to me is that he meets these 3 girls at the beginning as he's driving down the street. First of all, the video opens on children, which is just why are kids in this video at all?
Always a good start.
But they give him like these 3 girls, they give him the address and the password to get into this big orgy party. And at the very end of the video, the girl who takes him upstairs takes her mask off, and then it's like the big reveal, and they flash back to the earlier scene. It was like, she was the one who gave him the note. Oh my God. Like, there needs to be a plot to this video. There's a big reveal at the end that what is the point? That's not the whole point of this video. It's because there's girls in bikinis and wearing nothing and just shaking their asses.
The fact that, like, it's stupid and like everything that you're saying is true, but like I enjoy it. Did bring me back. I forgot watching it again to like the TRL, the 106 in Park of like the time when like you watched like, as stupid as they were, like your songs had music videos, and like the music videos, like you'd watch them for the song, and it reminded me when music videos were a thing, and like now it's just it was a fun time in music. It was a fun time to grow up.
All right, where else did this song go wrong, Jared?
Let me just mention, so the lyrics are offensive, and at the time, I'm not, I loved this song when I was 17, and it was cool, and it was talking about shaking your ass, and I'm not sure if I dove, like you said, I couldn't understand what he was saying half the time. I'm not sure I dove too much into the lyrics, but I found this, in researching this episode, I found this study from Elon University. Some communications major did this study where they looked at hip hop songs between 2000 and 2010 and analyzed the lyrics based on coding for demeaning language, rape, sexual assault, sexual conquest, and physical violence. And there's a number of artists who had high scores on this, and Eminem, Ja Rule, Ludacris, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg in the next episode. But this song in particular scored the highest in all of these categories across any other song that they looked at. So it is offensive in that time and continues to be to this day.
It's unfortunate, like when, I mean, you hear a lot about these things about rap music in general. And I think as fans of the genre, you always kind of want to defend it and rush to its defense. And I think it's also a bit of a touchy subject too, with the criticism rap has come under over the years as being a black dominated art form. Uh, but at the same time, you've got to say, when it's paired up with somebody like Mystical, with his not history at the time, but his future history of assault charges, rape charges, he's registered as a sex offender right now, with those lyrics. And then you really kind of take a look back at some of these songs and you see that a lot of these songs are really problematic. Not just now, but then too, because if you have people who are famous and popular and glorifying those kinds of things, some of them think they can do those kinds of things and do those kinds of things, and that's shitty.
It's also where it really gets interesting too, right? Is because so we just covered Ludacris before this, and Ludacris does, Jared, to your exact point, Ludacris has a lot of these lyrics too, but like Ludacris is more of a comedian in a lot of his like he's comedy rap, and like again 20 years later, like if you asked me at the time, I would not necessarily have differentiated 20 years ago Mystical from Ludacris in terms of the meaning of their lyrics, in terms of comedy value versus realism. I don't know how else to say it. But now again, 20 years with the problems, and you realize like one truly did like kind of grow up, kind of trying to put a little bit more lighthearted spin on this, and the other ones, like that same kind of lyrics, were, Dave, to your point, problematic.
Yeah, I wish I didn't read all the lyrics to this song, and this is where it like really goes wrong for me.
Yes.
I used to like this song, I'll fully admit that, and like that's, things we reflect on of ourselves and we try to learn and get better as people. Um and you really take a look at some of the things you're listening to or listened to or liked, and you're like, "Oh, I don't like this
I
anymore.
shouldn't have liked that. Yeah.
I shouldn't have liked that to begin with." And, I part of me wants to say like, "Oh, you want to go back and just be blissfully ignorant," but you have a responsibility to look at some of these things and think about them, and apply some of the things we as a people and as humans have learned over the last generation. And yeah, it does not age well. It does not sit well anymore. I even considered this week, I'm like, do we even still want to cover this song? And I think it's important to talk about this kind of stuff too, even if it's uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, I, I agree that I think that we had to cover it because of we're talking about the year 2000, and the song was very popular in the year 2000, so you gotta bring it up. But I think that's a perfect transition into rating. Like what do we give this song? What do we think what would we rate this song as a team?
Well, what are we rating it at? What is the
Crawfish. I want to give it crawfish.
I was thinking of crawfish heads. How about crawfish?
Crawfish heads. How many crawfish heads?
Oh man, how many crawfish heads?
I wonder, thinking back, what would I have rated the song at the time? It's difficult. It's hard, or even what I would have rated this a week ago before reading all this terrible shit about him.
Agreed.
It's difficult. I think if we're rating the song itself, absent anything else.
We're rating the song.
Okay. So the song, with the aging and the content and everything, I think I'll give it a 3 crawfish heads, because it was huge at the time, and the beat and Pharrell and his Mystikal is just screaming, it's just him. And this is his big breakout song. I think 3 is the score I arrive at.
Brian?
I would go 3.5. I struggled with this. So here's my thought with the 3.5 is I think we've realized we've done Nelly. We're realizing very quickly. Pharrell Williams and the Neptunes dominated the year 2000. I think as a baseline, if you have a Neptunes beat in the year 2000, I think you're given a 3. Just because it's the Neptunes. I think the half comes from Mystikal because I think he has a fantastic delivery. I think he created a fantastic chorus. And I think there are a few memorable lines that keeps this poignant. I think this song has been featured in, God, it's like 14 or 15 like big movies. Just it's a song that people remember, and it's a lot of it is like usually like SNL joke white guys trying to be cool, but it's a memorable song. So I want to give it 3.5 for that. But besides his couple lines and the chorus that are hot, most of the lyrics are garbage, throwaway, or not understandable, which to me makes it not an important or interesting song. So 3.5.
Yeah, so we look at these songs in a number of ways, right? We look at it in terms of the longevity. Is it still hot, still relevant? We look how it ages. We look at the lyrics. Is it interesting? Does it tell a story? How misogynistic is it? Do you still like to listen to the song? There's a lot of ways to we put these ratings together. And I really struggled with this one because, we've covered a lot of songs, and many of them have troubling content in terms of the misogyny, but none of those other songs I think were completely ruined for me the way this one was. And I struggled with the rating quite a bit, which is why I wanted to go last, whether I would even get above 1 crawfish head for the song. I'm going to give it 2, and I'm going to give it 1 for Pharrell and the incredible beat. And that is a song that's been sampled. It's been used in a bunch of, as you said, pop culture and movies. So it's had some influence on other tracks. Pass the Courvoisier by Busta Rhymes sampled this. Jay-Z's Stick to the Script sampled it. And it's kind of telling when songs sample a contemporary song. So those songs sampled this around the same year or a year later. That doesn't always happen. Often songs are sampling much older tracks. And it gets a star basically for the first line, one of the most memorable entry lines of any song.
It's the only way to
that
come
we'll
in.
cover. Yeah, I mean, the Kool-Aid Man entry is still, wow, something. So I'm going to give it 2 crawfish heads. I would like to recommend 2 other versions of this song because I don't think I'm going to be listening to too much more Mystikal. There is a smooth jazz version of this song, which is delightful, by a group called Streetwise. And if you're looking for a good laugh, the Richard Cheese version, lounge version of the song is also quite funny.
That means dickhead.
There you go.
I get it now.
So those 2 are, I think, how I'm going to be getting my Mystikal fix moving on. Any last words before we close it out?
I would say that I am super you just talked about it before. I am super glad that we still talked about it. I think it's important to not shy away from the past or anything. And like this song was hot, and we really did love listen to it, and it's still really really popular now. So I'm still glad that we talked about it. Some of the things I'm depressed to learn. I didn't necessarily have great love for Mystical. I thought it was interesting, so like I wasn't as sad personally as I was to learn some of the things like DMX and stuff. But like I'm still really glad that we talked about it and that we learned this, and now we know, and now we can move forward. Knowledge is power.
This wasn't like we picked some obscure song and was like, let's just highlight this and bring this to the forefront and talk about. Like, this was a huge song at the time, and it was on a bunch of lists. It was nominated for awards. The video was very big, and the fact that all this shit that he did afterwards doesn't take away from the way the song hasn't aged well and how we look back on it now. I think all his legal stuff aside, I still think I agree, Brian. It's important to talk about it and just recognize, how far things have come and things have changed since these past 20 years.
If you want to learn more about sort of gender issues in hip hop, took a look at a book this week called Cultural Migrations and Gendered Subjects. Check it out on Nook. We'll put it up on the
Hit us up
reading
on
list.
Nook.
It really goes into detail about the history of how women are treated in rap music, getting into the roots of slavery and issues going much, much before rap even existed, and how they exist in our culture. And, even reading through a couple chapters of that gave me a lot to think about on those subjects and how we watch these videos, how we listen to these songs, how we talk about these issues. If you're interested in bounce music, the history of rap in New Orleans, check out Bounce, Rap Music and Local Identity in New Orleans by Matt Miller. Hit it up on Nook.
Hit us up on Nook.
The most positive thing I can do to wrap this episode up is give you a couple good book recommendations.
Read a book. God.
Read a book. Jared, what have we got next week?
I heard it's bigger than hip hop.
Is that
whatever we're doing?
It's going to be bigger and better than hip hop.
Okay. Well, Dave, next week we have a little group by the name of Dead Prez. Perhaps one of the most well-known opening bass lines in musical history.
If you took their bass line and Mystikal's intro, boy, would you have a song.
God, I would die.
Mind blown.
Your mind would be blown. We're getting into socially conscious, revolutionary hip-hop next week. Dead Prez hip-hop, one of my favorite tracks of all time, one of the best songs to test out your new headphones or speakers to, or your car stereo system.
But hey guys, we're still gonna talk about like shaking butts and asses, right? Like that's right.
I'm not sure they get into that much.
Oh God, I might be absent. I'm feeling a little run down, guys. I might not make it.
Fake records.